In a land cloaked by the breath of mountains and veiled in the mist of time, there were two kingdoms: Ilaria, kingdom of golden fields and towering oaks, and Thander, realm of stone fortresses and glistening rivers. Once allies, the two had become bitter enemies over a century-old betrayal forgotten by history but carried fiercely in blood and sword. Prince Caelan of Ilaria was the only son of King Alden and Queen Rhiannon, heir to the sun-kissed throne of the West. He was a warrior of noble heart, skilled in blade and word, but it was his soul that made him beloved. Gentle with his people, just in his rule, and yearning for a love not confined by politics or war. On a summer's eve, during a secret diplomatic gathering on the neutral borderlands of the ancient elms, Caelan's eyes first met Princess Seraphina of Thander. She was unlike the tales that his tutors and warchiefs had fed him about the cold-hearted Thandori. Her laughter was like wind chimes in spring. Her gaze, proud yet warm, held stories he longed to know. It was not long before whispered conversations in shadowed corridors turned into stolen rides through moonlit meadows, where the border meant nothing and their hearts wrote poems of hope. Their love was wildfire, beautiful, dangerous, impossible to conceal. For months they met in secret, their messengers risking death, their hearts growing bold. Caelan dreamed of peace, of uniting Ilaria and Thander, not through conquest but through love. Seraphina believed in a world where their children would not wear armor before they could walk. But love, when born in lands soaked in hate, is a treacherous flame. One dusk, they were caught by Thandorian scouts. Seraphina's brother, Prince Malric, saw Caelan with her and believed it a seduction, a manipulation. He returned to Thander declaring Ilarian aggression, and within weeks, the drums of war thundered in both lands. King Alden was furious at his son's betrayal, loving the daughter of the enemy. Queen Rhiannon wept, but the throne demanded loyalty over longing. Caelan was confined to the inner palace. His letters to Seraphina burned before they could fly. War came like a storm. Thander's black banners clashed with Ilaria's golden lion. Villages burned. Rivers ran red. Caelan, unable to bear the suffering his love had unwittingly caused, escaped the palace disguised as a foot soldier. He would fight not for one kingdom but to protect both. He could not let their love become the reason thousands died. Meanwhile, Seraphina, too, defied her family. She rode into the battlefield as a healer, using her knowledge of herbs and mercy to save lives on both sides. In secret, she searched for Caelan among the wounded. They met again on the edge of death. At the Battle of Iron Vale, Caelan lay wounded beneath the ruins of a shattered outpost. Seraphina found him, broken but alive. Her tears fell on his bloodied skin, and under the silver light of the stars, they vowed they would end this war, even if it cost them everything. Together, they rode into the heart of the battlefield the next day. Caelan in the armor of Ilaria, Seraphina in the colors of Thander. They dropped their weapons, holding only hands, walking through the chaos. First there were arrows, then silence. Two armies watched as love stood unafraid between hate. Caelan spoke. "We bleed for reasons we do not remember. We kill for thrones that will not weep for us. But here is one truth, I love her. And I would die for peace." Seraphina added, her voice trembling but resolute. "Let us not build kingdoms on ash. Let this love be the bridge." That day, the generals lowered their blades. The war did not end instantly, but the gesture sparked something even stronger than fear, hope. Months later, under a treaty sealed by both kings, who had come to see their children not as traitors, but saviors, Prince Caelan and Princess Seraphina were wed beneath the great elm, where they had first met. The kingdoms slowly opened their borders, trading goods instead of blades, and planting olive trees where soldiers once fell. Legends say that every spring, when the roses bloom along the river Verith, you can see two figures walking hand in hand, crowned not with gold, but with wildflowers. Their love, forbidden but fearless, became the seed of unity. And the story of Caelan and Seraphina, the rose of two kingdoms was told for generations as proof that even in war, love can rewrite destiny. Though the war had ended and the treaty signed, peace, like love, is a garden that must be tended. The wedding of Prince Kaelin and Princess Seraphina was hailed as a miracle across Ilaria and Thander. But not all hearts rejoiced. In dark chambers behind castle walls, there were those who profited from war, lords whose power had grown fat on conflict, who saw Kaelin's love not as salvation but as weakness. Among them was Lord Dareth of Ilaria, a noble with ambitions of his own, and High Chancellor Viral of Thander, who believed no alliance could erase centuries of blood. As Kaelin and Seraphina began their rule, they worked to unite the hearts of their people. Roads were built to connect both kingdoms. Schools taught both histories. The first joint council of Ilarian and Thandorian ministers was formed, but distrust often soured the air. Arguments flared over everything from taxes to tradition. Even between Kaelin and Seraphina, the burdens of rule began to weigh heavily. Though their love endured, there were nights when they lay in silence, dreaming of moonlit meadows and the days before crowns and courtrooms. Then came whispers of rebellion. A faction calling itself the Order of the Iron Flame emerged in Thander, claiming Seraphina had been bewitched by Kaelin, and that the union was an Ilarian plot to absorb their kingdom. When one of the border towns was set ablaze by rebels, killing dozens, old fears returned like ghosts. Kaelin's generals demanded retaliation. Seraphina's nobles insisted on executions. But the prince and princess chose another way. They disguised themselves once again, just as they had in their youth, and ventured into the war-scarred lands alone, seeking the root of the rebellion. What they found shocked them. A secret council of lords from both sides, conspiring to restart the war and reclaim control. Among them was Lord Dareth, Kaelin's former mentor, and Seraphina's cousin, Lady Nyra, whose jealousy and thirst for power had twisted her heart. Kaelin and Seraphina confronted them in secret, hoping to sway them with reason, with mercy. But mercy has no place in the hearts of traitors. Kaelin was captured. Seraphina narrowly escaped, riding through the night to gather allies loyal to their cause. For 10 days, Kaelin was tortured, offered a chance to renounce his love and abandon the dream of unity in exchange for his life. He refused. "I would rather die holding the truth than live feeding a lie," he said with bloodied lips. "You cannot kill peace. You can only delay it." On the 11th night, as the rebels prepared to execute Kaelin in secret, a small army led by Seraphina stormed the fortress. With fire in her eyes and a sword in her hand, she fought through enemies to reach her beloved. Side by side they stood once more, not as prince and princess, but as soulmates, driving out the traitors with the strength of their love and the fury of justice. The uprising failed, but at a great cost. Kaelin was gravely injured. For weeks, he lingered between life and death, his fate uncertain. Seraphina never left his side. Her prayers whispered through tears and sleepless nights. When Kaelin finally opened his eyes, she kissed him, laughing through sobs, saying, "You owe me 1,000 dances. I'm not letting you die just yet." They returned home stronger than before, with scars that taught them what peace truly costs. They purged the courts of corruption, opened the royal council to commoners, and established the Temple of Unity, a place where both kingdoms could worship together, regardless of gods or past allegiances. Years passed. Kaelin and Seraphina had children, twins, a boy and a girl. They named them Elias and Renara, giving them names not of one kingdom, but of both. They were raised to understand war, but taught to choose love. The people began calling them the Rose Heirs, as they were born of the love that bloomed in blood. Kaelin and Seraphina ruled until their final days, their reign remembered as the Golden Peace, the longest era without war either kingdom had known. Centuries later, in a garden where the first roses of spring still bloom near the river Verith, lovers and wanderers often find a stone bench beneath the great elm. Etched into the stone are the words, "Where hate burned we planted roses. Where swords clashed we held hands. Where kingdoms fell we built love." And they say that on clear summer nights, if you sit quietly, you can hear laughter on the wind, and see the shadows of two lovers dancing among the fireflies, forever bound by a love that changed the world. In the twilight of their years, When Kaelin's hair had turned silver and Seraphina's laughter was softer, like wind brushing petals, they would often walk together in the royal gardens they had planted with their own hands. No guards, no crowns. Just two souls who had survived fire, forged peace, and never stopped choosing each other. One evening, as the sun melted over the horizon, Seraphina turned to Kaelin and said, "Do you ever wonder if we had chosen differently, would the world still have changed?" Kaelin smiled, pressing her hand to his chest. "If we had not chosen each other, there may still be a world, but not one worth living in." When they passed, within days of one another, Kaelin first, Seraphina shortly after, Ilaria and Thander declared a month of mourning. But in the villages, the people did not weep for loss. They planted rose bushes in every square, as was tradition. White for peace, red for love, and gold for legacy. A single rose tree now grows where they are buried, its petals kissed by dew each morning. And lovers come from every land to make wishes beneath its boughs, whispering their hopes into the bark, believing the prince and princess still listen. For theirs was not just a love that saved kingdoms, it became a love that taught the world to hope again.